And I'm going to start with why Loxon even became a thought, why it even exists to this day. And it started with an idea in 2000, late 2008, beginning 2009. Those are the founders of Loxon. We have Thomas and Martin. Now, they were in Austria and they were building their own home. I'm sure you're very familiar with the European market, how people building their own homes it's the norm. And they wanted to kind of add more technology to their homes and find solutions for controlling that technology. There weren't systems on the market that did what they expected because there were individual solutions for individual parts of their home that they wanted to control. Let's say individual solutions for individual problems. There was no overall solution that they could put into their home. So they went through the whole process. And unfortunately, when it comes to piecing together different solutions, it means that oftentimes it can be more expensive. Oftentimes it becomes complicated. No one wants to feel that controlling their home is a complicated thing to do when you get home from work. So what they did after putting the technology into their homes and using these individual solutions is they came together and they thought, there has to be a better way. We need a solution that is not only about, this is for my lighting, this is for my heating, this is for my security system. We need one intelligent overall system that just takes care of it all, that just makes life easier in our homes. And so they couldn't find one. They did one better. They said, if we can do better, then let's do better. And that's exactly what they did. That's where this idea was born from for Loxon. And so founded on a true story, yes, it was. It's not like a Hollywood movie based on a true story. Loxon, that's why we started. And when we started, we wanted to stay very true to recommended standards. And it's almost like a founding philosophy that was very, very important for Loxon when it started and still is today. And that's what drives our innovation. That's what drives why we do what we do, is having these almost 3 golden rules to stick to our recommended standards. For us, a Loxon system has to be easy. It has to be easy for the installer, for the designer, and for the user. Because if it's easy, then you will want to install it. So that's the first step. If we make an easy solution, you'll want to install it. Secondly, it's got to be reliable. Because yes, if it's easy, you'll install it once. That's great. That's fantastic. Even better, though, is if it's reliable, you'll want to install it again and again and again. And that builds the trust. So the second rule is definitely, it's got to be reliable. And thirdly, it's got to be universal. Because I'm sure you will know the projects that you're involved in, whether you're a facilities manager, whether you're an investor, whether you're a developer, no 2 buildings are the same. And so no 2 systems with Loxon would be the same. So it's got to be flexible. But it doesn't mean that for each project, you need to start right from scratch, that you need to go right back to the beginning and go through the planning as if you'd never done a Loxon system before. No, it's got to be universal so that you can scale up the more projects that you do. So very important for us, easy, reliable, and universal. And that brings with it certain requirements. If we want to stay true to the kind of those 3 recommended standards, we need to have clearly defined functions, which we'll get to in a bit. Also talking about that ease and that reliability, this shouldn't be a system that is only for those who are very, very bright, very, very focused computer programmers. That's not how you should succeed with Loxon. This should be for everyone to be able to learn, do, and succeed. And again, that goes back to our system needs to be easier, faster, and safer for anyone that's picking it up. So very, very important there that I unpack the recommended standards for Loxon. Again, we know why we started, and this is why we do what we do as well. A couple of the numbers there that just indicates how we've grown since that first founding on a true story in 2009. 27 countries we're active in, but over 100 markets we're present in. Phenomenal. Over 100 markets that we're present in. And there's a network of over 25,000 installers that are supporting Loxon in those markets. So it's not a company that is a startup or has only just a few resources to its disposal. 25,000 installers globally are working with the Loxon brand. And there's 600 of us behind the scenes. Some of us behind the scenes, some of us you'll get to see on webinars, but there's 600, we call ourselves Loxonauts around the world, supporting this brand and this innovation that we bring to the smart home and building automation market. Just last year, from an investor status, we were given the unicorn status as well. And we've got over 250,000 projects live around the world that are relying on the Loxon hardware and software to take care of the many features in those projects. So talking about projects, for us, we started in residential. And I say we started as if it's 20, 30 years ago. It's not that long ago, but look what we've been able to do in that time. Number one automation solution in the residential brand. That is phenomenal to have a look at what our dedication, our innovation, and our advancements have achieved. So energy, HVAC, security, lighting, access, audio. The list goes on of what can be done with Loxon. And we're very proud that our installers around the world have helped us achieve this status. So it is absolutely phenomenal what we've been able to do in the residential market. Now, when it comes to residential, we're great with using Loxon. Our hardware and software is a fantastic solution, but we saw an opportunity for more. So in 2013, we started a project that taught us a lot about larger buildings, the commercial way of Loxon taking care of what happens in those buildings. So we built the Loxon Basecamp. It opened in 2013. So only a few years after this idea of why Loxon should exist. So 1,000 square meter office was made for 150 people. There was a restaurant in there. There was a training room in there, a 500 square meter warehouse as well. And this really gave us a fantastic opportunity to develop our hardware and software for larger buildings and for commercial buildings. And that was definitely the start of not only being the number one in residential, but starting to really make a mark in commercial. That's what's following, and that's what's now, and that's what we're talking about in this webinar. We're talking about how you can be a part of using Loxon in those commercial buildings. Taking one step back to our success in residential. Every company, facility manager, owner, investor, they live somewhere. They might be at the office for a lot during the day. Maybe they're there first thing in the morning, late at night, but they've definitely got a home that they're going back to. And those homes have been automated with Loxon. And those decision makers have seen the capabilities of Loxon in their home. They've developed the trust. They've experienced that ease of use, that reliability that Loxon offers. And so they've taken that trust with the Loxon brand and brought it to their offices. So have a look at those brands that are included there. Loxon, in some way or another, is involved in the commercial buildings that these brands are occupying. It could be lighting, it could be heating, it could be access control, it could be HVAC. The list is endless, but it's amazing to see that these worldwide recognized brands are also trusting us, not just people and families at home. So how do we build on that trust? We don't want to take advantage of it. We want to stay humble and we want to innovate at a pace that works for the industry. And when it comes to that innovation, again, we went back to one of our buildings. So I showed you the Loxon Basecamp from 2013. Now this project is exceptionally impressive. This is the Loxon campus. Now the Loxon Basecamp is actually on that picture just to the top, and the rest has just been expanded. We're very excited because the grand opening is next month, in fact. But have a look at the scale of this project. It is absolutely amazing. A hotel with more than 80 rooms. We had a 500 square meter warehouse in the base camp. Now we have a 6,000 square meter warehouse in this extension into Loxon campus. Much bigger restaurant, office space for almost 3 times as many people, fantastic auditorium for over 600 people, and 9 seminar rooms. There's so much more that's not on this list. We've got a full wellness area, for example. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But what this taught us is that we could still develop, we could still innovate to really refine the remarkable possibilities of Loxon in commercial spaces. The interesting thing here, all those areas that I've spoken about, those are essentially individual areas. They're subsystems. You might find that you're dealing with a hotel as a facilities manager, as an investor, as a developer. You might find that you are specifically working on a warehouse, on a spa or wellness area. It could be a specific restaurant, for example. And all of those different kind of subsystems, all of those different potential projects are included in Loxon Campus. So it was a fantastic, I don't want to call it an experiment, but kind of a learning opportunity and a developing opportunity for us that we could really put our money where our mouth is and put our talents where our mouth is, so to speak, and say, this is an opportunity for us to innovate even more. And we have. It's very, very exciting. So it's a 20-hectare site. It's not the biggest of all buildings, but it's certainly not the smallest. And all the features in there, the lighting, the access control, multi-room audio, everything in there, even the pool and the irrigation outside is controlled with Loxon. So I want to take a closer look at that. There's a beautiful aerial view of it, but much more closer to the end of construction now. So there's those different subsystems I was talking about, those kind of sub areas. Normally, and if we think back to the day of when our founders were working just on their home, they had to have these individual solutions. One problem, one solution, one problem, one solution. And traditionally, you think of building automation needing one system for that area, one system for that area, because they've kind of got these niche problems that they solve. Loxon is different. If you remember back to, I told you why we exist and why we do what we do. It's got to be easy, it's got to be reliable, and it's got to be universal. He has a great example of that being universal. All those different areas really, really, really showcase the possibility of Loxon. So let's jump into those little areas there and have a look. We start with the office area. Now, I told you it was about 350 desk spaces in this office. Think of the importance of creating an environment for people in an office, 350 people in an office. They want to come to work. They want to look forward to coming to work. They want to feel comfortable when they're at their desk, when they're taking a break, when they're moving to a meeting room. And there's so much that goes on in creating that environment for that conducive workspace. The heating, so the temperature's got to be at the right point. The lighting levels have got to be correct. You don't want to feel too cold, too hot. Access control is really important. You want that free flowing, that people can move to areas that they're allowed to be in, but also protect areas that might only be accessible to certain departments. The blinds, the shading, you can't forget the importance of that in creating the right environment in a workplace, because think of the sun coming through, glaring through the windows on the computer screens. You want shading to just automatically close when the sun is on that side of the building, for example. I'm talking about fantastic features here, and I hope I'm not getting too distracting by going on a tangent here. But one example of how Loxon is in an office environment, it's fantastic. And all those features that I mentioned and so much more, no one has to do a thing. No one has to touch a button. It's all taken care of automatically with one system, the Loxon system. We jump to the hotel room. I told you how important it was in an office to create that exceptional environment. Think about when you're a hotel guest, you want to feel absolutely worth every dollar that you've spent going to that hotel. It's got to be a fantastic experience. Otherwise, you would have stayed at home, right? So being in a hotel room, your guests, they've got to experience everything perfectly. The ease of access into the hotel rooms themselves, into the parts of the hotel that guest is allowed to go to. The HVAC has got to be perfect in that hotel room as well. The ease of control. Going into a hotel room, more and more technology is getting added to hotel rooms, and you run the risk of compromising the convenience that guest experiences in that room. If they start to see too many buttons on a wall to control all this new technology, you don't want that. So control is still an important part when it comes to what solution you use for the building automation. And the lighting, of course, it creates the perfect ambience. We can have a look in that picture. We've got some fantastic LED lighting around the bed, and it can certainly completely change the look and feel when it comes to the light levels, the light temperature, the light color in a room as well. And like I said already, Loxon takes care of it all. It's done. The exterior, we talk about the inside of a building. Don't forget about the possibilities of the exterior. Facilities managers, you will know all too well, there's a long list of things that you have to go and do manually for a building. Cut that list in half or completely automate the whole thing. The outside lights, taken care of. The irrigation, completely automated. Let's think about if there happens to be rain and you were going to be scheduling the garden irrigation outside this building, this hotel, this restaurant, for example. You don't need to. It's taken care of. The wellness area, just as important as it is for the guest in their hotel room to just experience pure magic bliss, it's got to be the same for guests going to a spa area, for example. So again, that temperature's got to be perfect. So the HVAC has got to make sure that we're ventilating, that we've got the right temperature. The lighting has got to be relaxing. The access is for those who have maybe paid to go into the spa area. So you've got to have that intelligent automation linked to the access control as well. The pool itself. Pools are a wonderful thing, but they can be terrible to maintain if you're having to do it manually. The backwash cycle, the rinse cycle, having to measure the pH levels. How much chlorine do I need to add? All of that, and I'm not kidding, all of that can be automated with one single system. That same system I've been talking from the beginning about, Loxon. You don't have to have different solutions for these different problems. The sauna as well. Certain parts of Europe, saunas are fantastic. They're a standard. You have to have them. Whether it's in a gym environment, whether it's in a ski chalet, for example, when you've just come off the slopes, Loxon can control those saunas and control them exceptionally well. The hotel lobby, that first experience that guests have, you can never create a first impression second time around. It's got to be important. So as your guests are walking into that hotel lobby or to that reception area of a skyrise office building, for example, that lobby has got to be impressive and perfect. The audio, the cooling, the access control, and the HVAC. Just some of the features as an example in the Loxon campus hotel lobby that are all being controlled with that one system, Loxon. The restaurant, stay with me here. We go to a restaurant, we expect fantastic food. That's probably the one thing that Loxon can't take care of yet. So you'll have to make sure that you get a good chef on board for the food, but we can take care of the rest of the experience. So the lighting in that restaurant, the music. Think of how many restaurants the staff are required to take care of that. There's a big clunky control system in a back room somewhere. That's probably where the manager does the invoices, and there's a big audio system and loads of different light switches. And whose responsibility is it to make sure that as we move from lunch to the evening that we change the light levels and the playlist changes? Someone's got to do that. Not with Loxon. With Loxon, it's automated. All of that is taken care of so that your employees in that restaurant environment can take care of number one, the guest and the guest experience. Auditorium, another part of the Loxon campus. You can see all these areas that I spoke about in the Loxon campus. These can be standalone environments that you as an investor, as a developer, as a facilities manager are responsible for or are about to embark on a design for or an installation for. You can begin to see how, despite what type of building it is, the solution stays the same. It's easy, it's reliable, it's universal. So in this auditorium, it's not just the lighting that you would traditionally see in an office, for example. Look at that big rig lighting at the top there, because that's for power shows. Loxon also takes care of that as well. We can integrate with that, no problem. You're still only using one system for an environment like this. The warehouse, 10-meter high ceiling in this. Very different to a 2.5, 3-meter high hotel room ceiling. We haven't changed the system. It's the same system in that installation. It's fantastic. So the skylights, they're automated. You've got to really make sure that the temperature and the airflow in a warehouse is perfect. You don't want to degrade any of the products that are being stored there. So monitoring that air quality in there, that airflow, really important, and doing something about it when you need to open those skylights, just as important. But you doing it manually, thing of the past. Loxon again, that one system, that one solution for everything. HVAC. Now, this is a nice example because I've mentioned all these different areas of Loxon campus. And yes, these can be standalone areas that a Loxon system can be applied to. But the Loxon campus, it's not one standalone HVAC system for each of these areas. They go back to these central plant rooms that are responsible for sending that airflow, sending that cooling, sending that heating, making sure the ventilation is happening to those different areas. So you start to see how these brains of these different areas come together, and they need to talk to one another, and they need to understand how are these different spaces being used. Is it during the week? Is it office hours? Is it during the weekend when our hotel is fully booked and our wellness area is being used? Where are we prioritizing this HVAC? So it's really important to recognize that we can, again, not only have the solution in these standalone areas, but still from a centralized facility, manage what happens, what gets directed to those, measuring the use of those, the diagnostics, really, really completely important and completely possible when it comes to Loxon. Facilities management, taken care of. Maintenance schedules, reminders about filters being changed. It's all done with one system. And lastly, energy management. Harnessing the power of the sun. It's a fantastic topic right now. The possibilities with Loxon, they don't stop at what I've just gone through. Energy management is a huge, huge area that Loxon, I might be a little bit biased, there's no other system like it. Honestly, the capability, the price to performance ratio is fantastic. So the energy management at Loxon campus, we've got a 600 kilowatt peak at Loxon campus. We've got 50 wall boxes, 50 of those chargers there. We've got a 730 cubic meter water tank underground that is responsible for cooling and the irrigation. All taken care of with that one system, Loxon. So versatile, so universal. I hope that I've given you some idea now of why Loxon exists, from that small idea of if we can do better, then let's do better, and taken you on this journey of the innovation through becoming the #1 in residential, through to making the mark in commercial that we're making now. Hopefully I've just touched on it and I've piqued your interest. And now's the opportunity to pass over to my colleague, Jaren, who will take what I've gone through in the hypothetical and the real life and jump to how this applies to projects like this in the Middle East. Jaren.
So I believe you can see my screen now. Okay, thank you, Tiran, for a very beautiful introduction and for a very descriptive set of points of what Loxon has done, how has our story been evolving. And now let's talk about Middle East. So from the Middle East point of view, we know as Loxon your market. We know Europe is different. We know Middle East from cultural perspective, from business perspective, from commercial perspective, it is totally different. We have years of experience. We are not there locally, but our plan is by beginning of the next year, we would be starting off our branch offices from UAE all the way to Saudi, and thereon taking over to Kuwait, and the plan goes and goes on. I'm very happy that I'm representing this market, and I get an opportunity to deal with hundreds of companies like you on a daily basis. Some of the companies, not only system integrators, I talk with consultants, I also talk with MEP contractors, and sometimes even talking to clients and consultants directly, although we are not working with them. So what exactly is our success story and our planned path for Middle East? On the screen, you can see some giga projects, and these projects are the planned projects having a timeline of Middle East 2 to 10 years. So these are $1 trillion and $1 billion investments. And there are multiple small scale to mid-sized projects that I have not mentioned, but we are there. As an estimation, we are already in more than 300 planned projects in Middle East. The most of them exist in UAE and Saudi, which is our current excellent market to boom. One of the good examples I will show you here. As you can see, Dubai Urban Tech District, a hub of technology, as they say it in Middle East. And now Louvre Abu Dhabi Residences. Already Louvre has a museum that I think most of you have visited. The Tomb Museum that exactly looks like the one in Paris. And now they are going for the residences. But I would like to share you a very special project and the success story behind it. And it's the NEOM, the Sindalas. It's one of the biggest projects of Saudis and Kingdom. And this is one of the most awaited scene that has been the world looking forward to. And what is it about? It's here you can see the picture of the exclusive yacht resort. And there are also the Marina Villas in the NEOM Sindalas. And there is also the South Beach Resort, where we have nearly 52 villas and 225 rooms. Why Luxon in this kind of projects? How come the consultant and the contractors think we are the perfect fit? Nobody knew us there much before when I started in the planning phase, but they discovered us right away, which company can do everything that they have been looking for. And it was the answer Luxon. They were especially looking in the beginning for systems which can do multiple things inside these kind of villas, starting from lighting, third-party controlling, dimmings, AC control. Then they went to security, access control, and then multi-room audio. Also, in some cases, they wanted to have automatic schedule, remote management. But they were unable to discover a company which could give them easily one supplier, one installer, and affordable solution. And this was the entry of Luxon in NEOM. We were approached, and I was talking to this company, and they have mentioned to me that I know the company. I know you are known for doing easy things. And that's why we wanted to know what you can do to solve these complicated projects. I said, this is not complicated. We will make it very soon serious. And I presented them the solution along with the partners. And now for the next years, they are planning to go full scale with Luxon. This will be the ideal start of Luxon, and we will grow much bigger. Believe in us, when we go one size bigger, then we enter many other projects as well. The Muqab has the similar story. And in the next slide, I will show you one other similar story in which you might know, okay, private villas. So we are talking about some giga projects. Not to demotivate you if there are companies who are not a part or don't plan to be a part of these giga projects. We started off, as Tiran explained, as a small home company. We still keep that value in us. Only thing is, we can do basically everything. We are universal. We can do a single private villa. We can do 700 private villas. We can do 2,000 private villas. It depends on you. As a system integrator, as a contractor, as a client or a consultant, you have the solution for everything from Luxon side. This also suits for the Red Sea project and also for the Jubail Islands in UAE. So one of the best example in Jubail Islands is also the Mushrif village. If you know this point, there are also Midrif, and there are also some villas in this kind of situation. And we are already in that planned projects for these villas. So it will scale up as a mock-up on first to 5 projects in the beginning, 5 villas, and then it will scale up to 40 to 90. And these are also going up year after year. Similarly, to a surprise, these are governmental projects, of course, but we are directly involved and working with Ministry of Abu Dhabi Security. We have been working there. Soon you will also hear big news from their side officially. So just to give you a hot hint about where are we looking Luxon in Middle East. Now, from the perspective of private villas, Red Sea projects, offices, universities, everything can be scaled up with. And why exactly we are landing here? One of the success reasons that Tiran just explained us, but I will take you through there, is we are a very easy and reliable solution. Of course, there are partners who doesn't know what is Luxon doing when they initially join us or initially start learning about Luxon. They have been coming into another world of IoT or automation, and they switch because they see the vision of Luxon matching to their project standards and deliver the solution. And they learn from scratch, everything from scratch, but they develop the knowledge within days. I'm not talking about months, because we are known for our speed, we are known for our support, and we develop knowledge based on days and months. And why it is easy? Because there are some recommended standards from Luxon's point of view that reduces complexity. One of the things is our touch standards. Here in the first side, you can see a touch pure. So there you can also see a basic touch. Touch pure, basically a touch standard which can control 5 portfolios together in one switch. So I know Middle East has a culture of having multiple switches, but there are also a shifting culture that we see that we are going on to the direction of making it less complicated and simple. And also you have a culture of screens, which I will talk about a lot. And you can see that we have solutions for that. But starting from the touch, you can have your lights controlled. You can have your shades or curtains controlled. You can have your AC controlled. And you can have your security activated or deactivated. And also your audio. So these 5 functions can be done in just this one switch. And you can play around. This is the standard, but if you have less or more scale of operations, you can plan and do the changes in our software. For that, we have our best technical expert, Cameron, who will show us later. Now, when we go about another industries, let's say we do a lot of hotel industries. We have our own hotel business, as you saw, Luxon Campus. So we know what is the requirement of hotel standards. So you see the Touch Pure Flex, which is the biggest selling product in the hotel industry. 1 room, 1 switch, all you need. That is the Touch Pure Flex. As you see, this configuration is right from a hotel room. If you can look closely to the screen and imagine it, because there is the AC that you can control right away also for the Middle East. There is the AC, there is the ceiling fan. This is the exact culture of the ceiling fan of, let's say, Asian countries or the Middle East countries or the GCC. Then there is the master light. Then there are some night modes. There is a D&D mode. There is a display. So for example, not only it is showing the time, it can show you some text. It can show you the temperatures and everything. This is all you need for a room. The same can go for a private villa. The same can go for a meeting room in an office. The same can go for a classroom in a university. All you need is one just product in each universal. And that's why we are universal. And the last is our app. Now, when we talk about screens or main screens or dedicated screens, with Luxon, you don't need a special product. You have just one app. You can do anything with that app. If you want to manage your intercom, if you want to manage your AC, if you want to manage your lights, if you want to have some user access management, everything is just one app. Normally in Luxon world, you just put a tablet. You can put an iPad, you can put a tablet, just mount it somewhere on the central point and you're good to go. As you can see behind Tiran is one. So this is how exactly we save cost. You don't need a dedicated product in all of the portfolios in that sense. Moving on to the reliability. And reliability is basically this. When once you installed one of the products with Luxon, you want to install it again, or you want to expand the portfolio. Because in Middle East, of course, you are having your own lights, you are having your own certain things that you are installing, but there are also a requirement of audio video, for example. Then you need another system. Maybe in 3rd days, you might need an access control. You might need a security, and you don't need to do this because you can rely on the existing installed system from Luxon. All you need to do is to just use our security products. All you need to do is just use our access control products. And this is how you scale up. You see, Campus is the best example in this case. We have access control for employees. We have access control for also the hotel users. We have also the warehouse management, which have special rights. We have also some special rights for some other users. All you can manage in a project is with Loxon. And this is how you scale up and be reliable. And campus is the living proof. I would also like to invite you, if you would like to personally visit me and look at the campus on how exactly we do projects, or invite your clients as well, for example, big governments or something, because there has been few visits. So it's very common for us to host clients and consultants for big projects as well. So you are open to come and you can see us as well. Now, moving on, what all I was talking about, that yes, this is the only company that exists in the whole Middle East. I have talked to more than 1,000 companies in my duration of 2 to 3 years almost now. And there has been no company who can do everything on its own. And this is why basically our success story starts and looks, because they are surprised. Of course, we might not have a demand for everything, but maybe the same customer could or would like to upgrade it in the future, just because he's attracted to the new system that the neighbor has, or maybe he likes to have a new audio system, or maybe he just want to upgrade the existing system to something else. And surprisingly, both wired and wireless, and even third-party interfaces. So everything could be done and managed, and that's why one of the biggest reasons in Middle East is we are affordable. We are affordable because, of course, we manufacture everything in Europe, designed and manufactured in Europe. We are not having any production unit in any other part of the world. Everything is in here. And for the solution that we offer, for the quality we offer, for the supplier, we are the single supplier, we are affordable. Because till now, there has been 3 to 4 suppliers involved in single projects. My experience with NEO. So there has been 4 suppliers in this particular project before Loxon, and they were fighting because they had specialists for each of the portfolio. That was a cost for the commissioning. They had a programmer who could do some integration for the API because this technology couldn't do easily something. That was additional cost. Hardware from many parts of the world. And this is how, or let's say even including the Chinese components. And this is how even you make a project expensive. And this is why when Loxon entered, our cost, we were able to reduce it by 45%. And this is how we do the way we plan. Of course, there is a bit of an experience needed from our side. And this is why I am here, because all my existing partners also know that I am always asking a lot of questions to them about why you require this or why you're requiring this. And then there is always an answer because of this reason, this reason. So we manage smartly and we do the planning smartly as well. And now moving on to the next part, I hereby conclude my part. Hopefully you enjoyed the Middle East tour. There is a lot more to tell. We can always have a personal conversation, bring out your company. There are a lot more projects to be discussed as well. Of course, one of your projects as well. So hereby, I would like to introduce Cameron, which will take us to the technical part of what we do in this project, how basically Loxon plans a project. So Cameron, take over.
Thank you, Jaren. Thank you, Jaren. Thank you, Tiran. So my name's Cameron. As said previously, I'm going to be taking you through some of the technical details about Loxon and walking you through how easy it is to plan a project with Loxon within our software and even configure it in this short period of time. So let's get started with the brain of the Loxon installation, and that is the mini server. Now, the mini server is what's controlling all of the different technologies within your building. So to start off with what it's got on board. So we've got inputs, we've got outputs. We've also got a LAN connector. So this is for our network connection. Now you may be thinking, okay, does it rely on internet? Does it rely on network connection to work? And the answer is no. The only need for this LAN connection is so that you can program it with your PC, and if you want to use the Loxon app for a user visualization. This is fantastic. Most other systems on the market require an internet connection to even function, whereas with Loxon, you don't. Now, followed by the SD card. Now, the SD card is where all of the data and the program that's running on the mini server is stored. But why is this important? Well, kind of following on from the LAN connector, there's no need for a cloud storage solution or anything like this, because that could open up to some security vulnerabilities. The SD card is where all of your information is stored and it's not going anywhere. Now let's move on to some of the inputs. So let's start with the digital inputs. So these are just some 24-volt inputs that you could use for connecting perhaps door and window contacts, PIRs, and even maybe push buttons. We then have our analog inputs, these 0 to 10-volt inputs. Now, these are great for other sensors, perhaps that are going to give us a variable signal. This could be a temperature probe for your heating system. It could be an ultrasonic sensor. It could even be a pressure sensor. So really, your mind is your limitation. Now, moving down to the bottom, the entire Loxon system is powered by 24 volts DC. And then we've also got our Loxon Link interface and our Loxon Tree interface. The Loxon Link interface is for expanding the installation to connect Loxon extensions. We call them extensions because it's going to be able to expand your installation, perhaps by adding additional relays, additional inputs, even different communication technologies like Modbus, like RS-232, RS-485. Then we have Tree. Tree is our own technology for connecting to our peripheral devices. Now, this could be your presence sensor, and the presence sensor in itself is more than just one conventional device. It's a motion sensor, it's a brightness sensor, it's even got an acoustic sensor in there if you're not moving in the room. Tree lights, although yes, you have your own lights in your markets, we also make them that you can wire on one single cable, which we'll look at just a moment. And then, of course, the Loxon touch switches, which Jeren touched on a moment ago. And then finally, the 8 onboard relays, which could be used for controlling lighting, circulation pumps, or even controlling your curtains. So you can already do so much from just our mini server. Now, if we go over to our next slide, which shows us the different technologies which Loxon can do, you can see still the mini server is at the heart of every Loxon installation. And we have 3 different types depending on which installation or type you're looking at. But if we look at our interfaces, Loxon Link, we have Modbus, we have RS-232, we have RS-485, we have DMX, we have DALI for your lighting. Modbus could be used for perhaps your energy management system or your solar PV inverter, perhaps your battery, even your HVAC system. For those of you in the industrial world, BACnet, MP Bus from Belimo, all able to be implemented with Loxon. I mentioned our air technology previously, completely separate from your Wi-Fi and your internet. It's using our own technology. All permanently powered devices can even act as a repeater to create a mesh. Really game-changing. And of course, our Tree devices, our network devices, and our other network-related services like our caller service. If there's a burglar alarm, you could get a phone call straight from your mini server without the reliance on a call center or something like that. Now, let's say the product you want to integrate with isn't able to communicate through one of our extensions, isn't perhaps available as a Tree or an Air device. Well, don't worry. We've got that covered as well via the Loxon library. The Loxon library has more than 500 integrations with various different corporation manufacturers, like you can see here. Now, this could be integrating your Husqvarna lawnmower or Apple HomeKit, so you get some location-based automations. but even could be integrating perhaps your projector in a cinema, in a movie theater. It could be implementing your solar PV inverter. We've probably already got a template for it in our Loxon library. What if it's not in the library? That doesn't mean that it's not possible to integrate with that product. It just means that nobody's uploaded it yet. And you could be that person. And don't worry, we're here always to help you completely free of charge. I mentioned corporations with different manufacturers, and this is where we move on to dozens of big brands that you've heard of. Perhaps you've already got them in your home today and in your businesses. So we've got Huawei, we've got Tesla with their Powerwall, we've got Home Connect for the connected appliances, Miele, BMW. All these big brands have approached us because they want our technology within theirs and they trust us. So can you. So the Loxon technologies, just as a quick reminder, before we jump in to planning the project and looking at how we would program it, we've got Loxon Link. Loxon Link is for expanding the system, expanding the portfolio of the mini server through our extension range. You can connect up to 30 Loxon extensions per mini server. But what if you need more? Just add another mini server. And then they can talk together in a harmonious way. You've then got Loxon Air. Sometimes you can pull a cable, but sometimes you can't. So am I limited? Of course not. You could use Loxon Air. And of course, Loxon Tree. Gone are the days where you have to follow a strict wiring topology. With Loxon Tree, you can wire it in any way you like. Truly any way you like, of course, other than ring. As long as the colors match, you're fine. So it makes on-site commissioning and installation so much easier. So where would we use these technologies? So from the mini server, we're going to start with Loxon Tree. You can see we're using one cable to connect our switch, our lights, and our presence sensor. That would usually be 3 different cables at least to pull back to the mini server with a conventional solution. With Loxon, this is what you call a solution. Now the relays, as I said before, you could use them for controlling a lighting circuit, switch them on and off. You could even use the relays to control your curtains. So of course, really flexible. Now we're using our Loxon Link technology. The Loxon Link technology here you can see is communicating with our Modbus extension for Modbus RTU. This is then allowing us to communicate with a product which hasn't got Link, hasn't got Tree, hasn't got Air, but it has Modbus, so we can control it. So you could perhaps control a heat pump or a HVAC system using Modbus. Now, we know that the mini server doesn't have Air built in. We saw that because I haven't mentioned it yet. So you must need an extension. Well, don't worry, our other mini servers have Air built in as well. But we have the Airbase, and that's communicating with the mini server via Loxon Link. But now we have Air, we can now connect to other devices like our AC Control Air to control your GRI AC system. We've even got, as you saw on previous slides, Fujitsu, Mitsubishi Electric, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, Toshiba, all with just a simple plug and play solution. And of course, expanding this even further with another relay extension to control even more lighting circuits and a circulation pump. So you can see here, all of our different technologies can work all together in a harmonious manner. But what's most important here is safety. All of your data is yours. It's your data because it's your installation. There's no need for a cloud. There's no need for a network or internet connection. The mini server can work just on its own. So safety and security is at the core. It's all communication is encrypted using SSL or TLS, similar to the same encryption that you're using for your mobile banking app on your telephone. So that is how seriously we take security here at Loxon. Now, this is what we all came for. How can I implement this within one of my projects? So let's take an example, luxury villa. Something not too big, but not too small. Something that we can all relate to here. So firstly, take a look at your floor plan. Take a look at the schematics you've got in front of you, and we need to break it down a little bit. So firstly, let's look at our recreational rooms. Our recreational rooms, an example of this could be our majalis, our dining room, our kitchen, or even a kid's room, a children's room. And these are the areas where during the day, this is where we need a comfortable temperature and we need our lights to stay on at a reasonably length of time. We don't want them just turning off quickly. We then have our thoroughfares. These are where we're exiting the property. This is perhaps where you're putting your shoes and your coat on before you leave. It could be the staircase or just the hallway or corridor, or even the toilet. But this is where you're spending a smaller period of time. So the lights don't need to be on for hours or half an hour at a time, perhaps just a couple of minutes. This is also when you're telling the system that you're leaving, you're going out to work, you're going out for the day. So this is where you're leaving the building. But these are also the places where you often don't even have a push button or a switch. This can all be done through automation and sensors. So we can show you how to do that. And lastly, the bedroom. Now with a bedroom, we can't sleep unless you're comfortable. Now, of course, we can't make a bed with locks on. I'm sure we'll get there one day. But with locks on, we can make sure that the environment is comfortable. So firstly, some of us like a warmer room, some of us like a cooler room, and you can do that with locks on. And the different people in different sides of the house could have a different temperature, and that's completely fine. You've then got making sure that when you roll over in bed at night, your lights don't come on. But when you go in during the day to get dressed or get changed, the lights do come on. And with locks on, we can achieve this. So let's head over into Locks on Config, our free configuration tool with free updates to configure this or plan this and then configure it. So if I head over into Locks on Config, I've created a project planning file, which is really simple to do. Once I open it up, I'm presented with a series of questions like the customer name, the author, and the project name. So let's start off with Tyrion, and we'll use the example of our office. And the author details is, of course, myself. My email address. And of course, our website. Now, why is the author details important? Once you finish your installation, your customer is going to want to maintain a relationship with you. Because I can say for sure, Tyrion, Jaren can all say for sure that not one locked on installation has stayed as it is when it was finished. The customer always wants to expand and grow the system with additional features and products. So making sure they have your contact details is really important. We also want to see the price so we can provide a quotation to our customer. Next, this is where we set some pre-selections to make sure that we're staying consistent and gives us a little bit of help throughout planning. So which mini server are we using? We know we have the 3 different mini server types, the mini server Go, and the mini server compact. Which switch would you like to use? How are we controlling our lighting? Are we using our own lighting? Are we switching them on and off, or are we dimming them? Are we using are we using the locks on lightings? For shading, how are we controlling the shading? Is it curtains? Is it blinds? Are they inside? Are they outside? For climate control, how is this going to be done? We then have music. We have some extra low voltage PWM dimming, and of course our presence detection. So once we've done these selections, it then moves on to our project. So what I've done is I've taken the example floor plan that I showed you just a moment ago and inputted them here earlier. So let's take the Majlis as an example. Here, we know it's a recreational room. This is a relaxational room where you're there with your family or your friends or your colleagues. How many windows and doors does it have? Why is this important? Because this tells us how many door and window contacts we might need for the security and the climate control. How many curtains are we going to have? Internal doors. What do we usually have next to an internal door? We have a light switch. So if we tell it how many internal doors we have, that will define how many light switches we have. If we want more, of course, that's fine. But this is just giving you as a guideline. Now, of course, in your markets, heating isn't necessarily an issue, but this is also where you would define heating loops. Now, area, let's not forget this. The size of the room is really important for how many sensors we need, how many speakers we're going to have. If we're using locks on lighting, how many locks on lights are we going to need? Once I've done this, I can just tick open. Once I've opened it up, you can see I've got different categories based on what I would like to control. So we have lights. Now, we've decided based on the plan that we've got from here that we've got 2 lighting circuits. If we take 2 lighting circuits, we're going to need 2 digital output at 10 amps. This will automatically tell us how many relays we need, whether that's a relay extension, how many relay extensions we need, and how many we're going to use on the mini server. We don't need to worry about it. The software does it for us. All we need to know is we need 2 relays. Then shading, centrally wired blinds. We've got curtains. Now we've told it that we've got 2 external windows or doors. So it knows that I'm going to need 2 sets of this automatically. Now, if I change this by mistake, I can just tick auto and it will revert it back to what I've told it already. A really clever tool. Climate, we've of course added the AC control air for GRI. This is just a simple plug and play device straight into your indoor aircon unit. It gives you full control of your AC. Even with multimedia, you can see here we've got 2 speakers. We've got the Install 7 speaker with a back box, but you notice that's together. Just because we told it that we would like that as a package item, later on it works out how many speakers and how many back boxes I need, all for me. Presence detection. You can see based on the room size of 75 square meters, it's decided that we need 3 presence sensors. And you can even see when we hover over it, it tells us the calculation it's using to achieve this number. So you know that it's not just a number it's plucked out of the sky. And then switches. So we're looking now at the touch, perhaps the touch pure or the touch pure flex, which Jaren mentioned earlier. You can see here the amount of internal doors we have multiplied by 1 gives us 1. So we know how many switches we've got based on the internal doors. And then if you wanted to add additional features, additional products to give you more features, you can. So I'll just take you over to the example of the outside room, because here we've also got lighting, but also we have an access or security need. So we need the NFC, code touch. We need the intercom to know who's at our front door or our front gate. We need a relay to control that door lock, and even a PoE injector to power the intercom. Then for security, we've got the alarm siren. So we've told it which room it's in so that when we come to configure it, it's going to make so much easier. Now, why have we planned this? Why have we not yet gone straight into programming it? We need to know how much this is going to cost. We need to do all of the other parts of the design process so that we can deliver a complete solution to the customer. A list of just products isn't a solution to the customer. The features that these products are going to help us deliver is important. Really, just 15% of what Loxon does is hardware. All the rest of it is delivered through software, which makes up the extra 85% of Loxon. So really, this is a very small piece of the puzzle. Now, we've told it all the hardware, all the Loxon products, all the devices we need. So now we hit next. And when we get to this stage, it's had a look through the list of products we've got. And it said, okay, we need 12.28 amps of 24 volts for our lighting and audio. So we can then specify which power supplies we're going to need for this project. Once we've done this, we can click Finish Planning. And we can even generate a parts list. So this is something I did earlier on today. So if we head over here, you can see from my screen, based on what we have planned for, we can see the total cost of hardware for this private villa. You can see that it's calculated we need 4 relay extensions. Now, where has it got that 4 from? Well, if I go to assignment, you can see here, we need 49 relays. We know we have 14 relays on the relay extension. So we can then use this information to calculate how many relay extensions we need. We've got air devices like the AC Control Air. So we have the airbase. We, of course, have told it that we need speakers and back boxes, so it's calculated that for us. But we haven't yet told it how we're going to be driving those speakers. But it already knows that we want to use the audio server and the stereo extensions, so it calculates this for us to take that out of your mind. Now, we've planned the project, we've delivered it to the customer, we've installed it, but now we need to program it. And this can often be the challenging part that could be taking days, weeks, or even months, especially with the giga and mega projects that you are working on in your markets. But with Loxon, we can simplify this. So if I head back over to my planning file, you'll notice that I have the example, I have the option for creating a project in Loxon config. So if I press create file, what it will do is it will create my config file with all of the devices which I have planned for previously. So you can see here, here's my 3 present sensors in the Majlis that I referenced earlier. You can see under digital outputs, we've got the curtain control. We've even got all the extensions, the 4 relay extensions that I mentioned as well. Now, we have a blank canvas. All of our devices are here, but they're not doing anything. So what's really important is that everything's named correctly. Yep, everything's named correctly. We're happy with that. So now I need to go to auto configuration. This tool is what's going to help you with the foundation of delivering your products, your projects. So firstly, we're going to start with the basic functions. Now, if I click check all, we can then go through these and decide what we need. Firstly, I need lighting in every single room, of course. For all of the rooms, I've allocated relays for shading. Of course, I've already got curtains or I've got blinds there, so I need it to help me with this. Music. Yeah, I need the music done for me. Now, in the bedrooms, I'm not going to put the alarm clock in just yet. This can be something that we add in later on once the customer's moved in. The leave room function. Now, if we're not sure what leaving room does, you can see here, it'll explain it for us. The leaving room function is enabled by a double click on any button that controls lights. This will turn off the lights. It will turn the music off. It will re-enable automatic shading and also reset the climate system. Then peripherals. This here is if we've got any additional products for like the intercom, the EV charger, energy monitoring, it will add this for us. And finally, presence. So for the rooms that we've added presence sensors, it will configure this for us. So I can hit next. Now, this part is where we're looking at the whole project in itself. So do we need an assisted living alarm? In this case, we'll say no. Do we need a security system? Absolutely. We need a security system, so we'll tick this. Now, away mode, this can be used for deactivating the climate control when you are away on holiday. So if you go away on holiday, we want to make sure we have away mode ticked. Now we've got loads of lighting, we've got lots of music, we've got lots of shading. So what's really important is that we can have a complete overview of this at a single glance in the Loxon user interface, the Loxon app. So I can do this by just pressing this checkbox. Now, if I move on, we've got the fire alarm. We would like the night mode. We've got the leaving house function. And this is where these are the functions we're going to take as a base for this project. I'm then going to press configure. What this is now doing is starting to configure the base foundation for my project. So now I can click finish. Now you can see here, as I go room by room, it started to create me some configuration. So let's take as an example the Majlis. You can see here, we've got lighting. We're using the touch tree to turn on the lighting controller and control our lighting relays. You can see we've got our audio player, which is controlling our 2 speakers. We have our 3 presence sensors that I referenced earlier connected to the presence block. So it tells us when somebody's in the room and therefore turning on the lights. We've got shading for our curtains, but notice it hasn't connected the relays automatically because this is just giving you the foundation. You are, of course, you're the engineer who knows which relay is opening the curtains and which relay is closing the curtains. The system does not yet know this, and this is what you are here to help it with. And then the AC control. So with the AC control, you can see we just have one function block here, and it's talking to the device, the AC control air, for GRI, because that's what we planned for earlier. So this is automatically going to give us that control of the fan speed, the temperature set point, the operating mode, all in one simple device. And you'll notice we have a bunch of hints, a bunch of notes here to give us some hints of what we need to do. This is really easy to go through by simply clicking the cleanup project. This will then analyze our project, and it will tell us what we need to do. So you can see here, we've got to-dos in the bedroom or in the bathroom, and it's telling us that we need to look at the volume thresholds for the acoustic sensor of the presence sensor. If we scroll down, you can see the output reference curtains in the kitchen hasn't yet been connected. So it's just prompting you and reminding you of things that you need to do so that it's not one big beast that you need to tackle on your own. There is tools within the software to help you and walk you through the process. Cool. I hope this helped you. I hope this gave you a great insight of the introduction to the technical side of Loxon, an introduction to the mini server, an introduction to the different technologies that you can use for your giga and mega projects, but also your residential projects. And also then an insight to how to plan your projects with Loxon, with our free and really easy to use software, and then configure it. You can see here, I've perhaps been talking for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. And in that time, I've introduced you to the technology behind Loxon, how to plan a project and how to configure it. So it's a no-brainer to use Loxon.
Thank you,
Pass
Cameron.
over to Jeren.
Thank you. It was actually impressive to see again while you're doing it and I'm doing it and Tyrone is doing it. It's not so believable, but when we watch it from our eyes, it's something amazing that we get to work for this kind of companies. And I'm sure you're amazed. This is one of the success story of the Louvre Abu Dhabi residences as well, because they wanted one of the systems or their engineers to be not troubled and they can do simultaneously multiple projects. This was also a requirement in Palm Jumeirah residences, that they can do simultaneously side-by-side project, and they wanted to have a solution where they don't have to learn everything from scratch. And this is where Loxon Config helped them. We understood your troubles, we understand your projects, we understand your culture, and this is why this solution is easy to use and easy to learn and adapt. So as you can see, there is always a planning involved directly in the software where you are also configuring. But if you do a configuration, then it's automatic. So 80% of the job is done. 20%, as Cameron said, that you need to watch all the settings and adjust it. So hardly in the beginning, when you do the first project, it takes around 30 to 40 minutes to plan, because we need to analyze the BOQ, and that's what I am responsible to do it with you. I will help you to plan those projects that you're looking forward for a solution. Easy solution, reliable solution, and an affordable solution. I will be your partner coach. In terms, you can say a personal consultant from Loxon. Lifelong free service. Just kidding. It's actually the services from Loxon and support is completely free for all of the existing and the new partners as well for lifetime. And only you pay for us for the hardware. This is a very good relation that we built with our existing partners. And now also what all comes with support is there is optimization of price calculation. That means when you do a BOQ, what kind of a BOQ? Are you doing it correctly? How we are looking at the pricing? Are we doing it the smart way? Are we adapting to the Loxon way? And there is also a dedicated training, which is done by my colleagues here in Czech or sometimes in Koloshlak within our team. This training is also utilizing all your basic foundations about Loxon, how you integrate whatever Cameron did, basically a more in-depth sense, 2 days of training, and then you learn and go ahead and you're ready to do Loxon projects. You have my email ID on your screen. Of course, you can reach me out. However, tomorrow, whoever has participated in this webinar, I would be calling you personally, and I would be sending out emails as well. And we will have further discussion and feedback sessions about your company, your future projects, and then we will take it on from there. And also, not only 1 or 2 projects, but we are responsible, or I am responsible to make you successful if you use Loxon. So we take care about our partners as well. We are in constant communication with them, from the support, from the planning, from the projects, everything. So before the company is established locally, you have the right chance to come to us and to be a part of our journey to change the world in Middle East. We are already there, and soon I think we will meet you locally as well. Thank you for participating for today. I thank Tyrone and Cameron from UK and to joining us and to explaining and everything from the commercial to the technical and their success story or a part of journey with Loxon. Thank you all of you, new people, existing people. I see a lot of them who are existing as well. So thank you and see you tomorrow and have a nice evening. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.